Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, in our brand new study in a Phenomenology of Christian Life by Felix Murchadha, published by Indiana University Press in 2013. Before we get into the chart, I'm going to give you the triad for this chart. The three blocks could be labeled Doxa for block 1, Methexis, that's Methexis for block 2, and Aletheia for 3. Glory, incarnation, and truth. Keep that in mind as we go through this chart. Let's begin with block 1. And Murchadha tells us that a phenomenology of rupture equals an appearing in the world but not of the world. It's a break in the order of appearance, the rupture of the everyday scientific realm, which can only be seen through a singular sensitivity, and that sensitivity is Christian faith. It's a seeing and a hearing of transcendence. It's spiritual seeing and spiritual hearing of transcendence. Well, note 2, block 1, note 2, glory and night are the expressions for all phenomena appearing in the world. Glory is the unrecognizable, radical light of revelation, a light that takes place within worldly relations. It is enlightenment, but it does blind worldly sight and worldly vision. It is available for spiritual insight, spiritual perceiving, but it will blind worldly sight. And so note 3, to blind sight is to turn secular luminous vision into night. And glory the soul sees only due to its incapacity to see naturally. The gulf between the human and the divine opens as abysmal, and yet within this great distance we still hear the call of orientation. We spiritually hear the call of being oriented to life in a brand new rebirth way. So under this call of orientation, it's a call that the world cannot hear. Glory and night describe our way of being in the world. Within the way of being, the Christian phenomena appear. So within this glory and night, we have creation, incarnation, resurrection, agape, love, and faith. And all of those appear in a disruptive way because we are in the world but not of the world, as Christ is in the world and not of the world. So under that notion, in note 5, Christ radicalizes the appearance of the divine as Doxa glory. He is the Doxa glory. World light darkens in his spiritual light, which is not of the world. And this divine light is seen with the eyes of faith. So you can see where Murchadha is going here. So if we take a look at note 6, the phenomena of creation, resurrection, and faith are non-intelligible to worldly Greek thought. Any translation of Christian phenomena into Greek concepts always leaves a spiritual residue. Christianity claims a universality based on a supra-cosmic instance, meaning the incarnation. So under this instance, in note 7, Christianity claims a phenomenology that finds no place in Greek thought. It's a phenomenology that escapes category. It's beyond concept. It does rely on a coherence of the world, which is called the cosmos. Christianity makes as its central issue the world. And Paul understood the cosmos as the realm of human interaction, the realm of human affairs. So we take a look at this realm of human affairs where revelatory illumination takes place in note 8. This realm is placed by Paul in opposition to the grace of Christ. The logos of cosmos is that which has fallen. It will end in the transformation of the world, cosmos transformation. Signification, therefore, becomes placed beyond the world. It is transcendence. Signification and illumination are transcendent and beyond the world. They enter into the world, but it is transcendence that enters into the world. And that takes us to note 9. Christianity claims that the way to the good life is through Christ. He is our measure that is not of the world, by conforming to immutable being. This is incommensurable with the Greek ideal, with Greek concepts. Murchadha is trying to tell us that, look, we're dealing with a transcendence beyond Greek concept. So note 10, immutable being and the being in the world. And he asks, is being already directed toward God, or is it there in the world that which leads to God? Or is salvation purely from beyond the world? He says one possibility is that the cosmos is an order that contains traces of the divine, understood through revelation. A second possibility is that the cosmos is fallen, and only through crucifixion is salvation possible. He says we're going to be situated between these two extremes. That's where we're going to open Christian phenomenology. That is where we are going to open Christian phenomenology. It isn't going to be either one of those extremes. But there has been a false interpretation of Plato. Murchadha tells us that Plato's thought got combined with Stoicism, and when it did, it created Platonism, and Platonism was influenced. It made an influence and an impact on Christianity in the first century. But this Platonism is a false theory. It's a false philosophy. It's not Plato. It's Plato coupled with Stoicism. So let's take a look at Block 2, Christianity and Platonism. This is going to be the moment of negation. Platonism and Christianity. Aristotle and Plato shared a belief in the intelligibility of the world, the inner harmony of being in the world. And they did believe in a teleology of wisdom. There was an unchanging, rational structure to the world. The cosmos was self-sufficient, eternal, whole. Now, in note 2, in early Christianity, Plato was mixed with Stoicism to form Platonism, and Christian life was conceived of as a movement from the below to the above, from matter to spirit. And the Platonic concept of Methexis was posited. Methexis is the relation of a particular to a universal form. But note 3, Methexis also meant participation of an individual in the universal, resulting in a kind of affirmation of temporality, where transcendence spilled over and became immanence, an immanent transcendence. Therefore, beauty could be revealed in physical particular existence, in the sensate realm. So we look at beauty and particularity. The transcendent is manifest in the immanent. Therefore, Plato did not urge for a withdrawal from the world. That's the influence of Stoicism. Only a false interpretation of Plato did this. That made it Platonism. The coherence of the world is where the soul has fallen into the body. The unity of soul and body corresponds with the origin of the world. So under body and soul, the affirmation of the goodness of materiality is premised on the finitude of the world, seeing the world as a relation dependent on a cosmic source. Therefore, the incarnation is opposed to the sacred logic of Platonism, where we're supposed to separate and be protected from contamination of the world, because in Christian life, matter and form are allowed to mix together. We enter into the world in Christian life seeking to unveil the kingdom. So it's not supposed to be this Platonism where Stoicism mixes with Plato. So then we move on to note 7, or note 6, the mixture of matter and form. True Platonic coherence equals mutual relation between oppositions, but not mingling. They still remain the same and can be separated. Therefore, Christ becomes an impossible thought. And why? Because Christ was divine and human at the same time. He was fully human, yet co-eternal and co-substantial with the Father. Now, note 7, Heidegger sought a proto-Greek thought, a prior Greek thought, not yet Christianized into Platonism. This position was shared by Henri, the lesson we just finished. It means a thinking where the world is both fallen and redeemed, illusion and real. The real is veiled behind the sensate. So note 8, under this illusion and the real, the task for Christianity is to think beyond Greek concept. Historical reflection encounters both Platonism and Christianity. They are both possibilities of being. They are represented by Jesus and by Socrates. They differ in their mode of teaching. Socrates awakens ideas already present. Jesus makes himself the content of new ideas, new eidos ideas that have broken in a rupturing way. So we move on to eidos ideas in note 9. Jesus' life disclosed ideas that without him we never would have known. Understanding is related to the truth, the event of truth, in other words, the event of Christ. And that reconfigures the past, the present, and the future by giving a radically new focus for life and a rebirth. And a rebirth, or a being born from above. And that's note 10. Time is no longer a mere image of eternity. Here's your key statement. Instead, eternity acts on and in sensate time to transform our perception and to transform existence. Christ is the eternal in human form, the eternal that takes on personal presence. Personalism. It's phenomenology as personalism. Think of Rudolf Otto, who we already have studied. It's phenomenology as personalism. Actually, think of Rudolf Otto, think of Brightman, and think of Bound, all three. Now, note 11, the eternal as personal presence to be exemplified in the personal life of the disciple. They are to imitate Christ. Move beyond Plato is to move beyond and to move toward an ecstatic temporality that is filled with new possibility. We live in a reality where new spiritual possibilities are veiled yet present, that we can perceive spiritually. Life is opened to new possibility in Christ. So this rupture of the glory of God and the Methexis incarnation of Jesus Christ leads us to a new discovery of truth in Block 3. Now we take a look at being in the world in Block 3. And Murchadha tells us that Heidegger rejected the Platonic notion of world, rethinking time in an anti-Platonic way. Barth, likewise, insisted on the absolute otherness of God, and religious phenomena are the work of human beings. Barth posited a pathos of distance. So, note 2, through Christology, Barth spoke of the humanity of God. Heidegger, he took up Luther and posited the notion of deconstruction, a method to liberate Christian experience that's hidden behind the Greek concepts. Christianity should not be constrained by the Greek concepts, because truth is event truth. It's the event character of truth. We want to liberate experience from rigid Greek ontologies. And that's 3.3, liberation from ontology. Heidegger stated that Paul's letters need to be critiqued through phenomenological deconstruction, understanding Paul's letters in terms of situation, within historical situation, within historical experience, as living temporality. Christ, being not of the world, cannot be governed by normal time. We have to rethink time. The time of Christ cannot be chronological, it cannot be chronos, it must be kairos, the kind of time that is the event time, the time of an event. It is full of surprise, full of the new, full of uncertainty. Therefore, experience is transmitted subjectively, in living subjectivity, duly interpreted in the life of the present, in the life of present experience. So under interpretation in note 5, block 3, note 5, a thought is essentially historical. Being in the world is being concerned with the event of constituting the truth by unveiling experience responsibly, where world wisdom is deconstructed by Christ. The night of world wisdom is deconstructed in order to unveil divine light in Christ. So under this destructuring of understanding in note 6, phenomenology is the act of historical deconstruction, the deconstruction of secular constraining ontologies. That way we allow the originary experience of the Christ event to appear as a movement of being in the world, as movement from possibility to actuality. The entire life of a Christian is a movement from dunamis, possibility, to energia, actuality. From dunamis, possibility, to energia, actuality. We've talked about that a lot, and this is being affirmed by Murchadha. Christian life is a movement from dunamis, possibility, to energia, actuality. And that takes us to block 3, note 7. There is an ontological difference between entities and the world. God is not of the world. Living in the world and not of the world are the modes of being, as the self-responsible being, as that for which there is a world, a true world, a real world, a spiritual world. And now you see why I gave you that introductory comment. You must focus on that triad. The triad for this lesson, if you want to just recall it in 3 concepts, it's Doxa, glory; Methexis, M-E-T-H-E-X-I-S, Methexis, incarnation; and Aletheia, new truth within new birth. Doxa, Methexis, Aletheia. That's going to wrap up pages 1 to 15. That's the first half of the introduction. Our next lesson will pick up the second half of the introduction.